Power outage. There we go. Welcome, everyone. I'm back. Marty Janeski here with my good friend Frank Vladas. Say that for me.
Władysławski.
Władysławski. There we go. And we're your hosts, the Local Sports Wrap-Up. Today is April 4th, 2023. Haven't been here in a while, Frank. I do follow you on Facebook, so I see you get around. They call me Jet Set Janeski because I get around, and life is good. How are things with you?
Well, first off, it's great to have you back.
Good to be back. Maybe I'll fill in again sometime.
It was a good time here with Ken last few weeks, but it's good to have you back here.
Those that don't know, Ken is he's on a field trip with his son. You know, parental duties take precedent in this gig. They don't pay us. We are volunteers. We do this because we love to do this. That's why we're here. So I guess we'll start. So we have soccer scores. There was spring break all last week. So we do have kids that did come back and play. There were a couple games last week. Mm-hmm. Your schedule must have been a little lighter.
Yeah, it was pretty light. There wasn't much going on those
Girls
those
soccer,
days.
Divine Child took care of Carlson 4-0. Trenton took care of Riverview. Wyandotte took care of Airport. And Allen Park beating Melvindale. Now, Melvindale, I understand, usually is pretty strong in soccer. On the boys' side.
The boys' side. The girls' side, they've kind of had their ups and downs.
Have they?
Yeah.
So with that being said, and we took care of all that, let's get into the all-state hockey, because I think an accomplishment of becoming an all-state at anything is really big. And I've had an all-state bowler at one time, and Angelita in her freshman year, and I thought it was pretty cool. And the bowling, they work at the final 8, get to be all-state, and then the next 8 in the roll-off become second or third team. So that works pretty cool. But there were a total of 14 local players and 6 from the powerhouse Trenton team.
Right.
Yeah. And starting out with them, senior defenseman Jacob Wiseman. You caught a few hockey games in your time. I have to imagine that team is solid.
They're always solid. Every year, Trenton is ready to go. I think there's maybe been 1 year in the 10 years I've been doing this where they had a down year. Otherwise, they come right charging out of the gate, and they're always a contender for that Division II state championship right from the start.
And they, with Jacob, we had Carter Allen. He's a senior. And then Mika Needing. So those 3 seniors lead that team. And I really think that the whole solid part of Trenton is their youth program. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if they go out and recruit kids from other cities, because that's really, the coaches don't do a lot of that, and it's not really legal downriver, but I know it has happened. But, their youth program is the strongest one in the area also, having coached kids in the Wyandotte programs. At the Trenton programs, they start them kids pushing that little triangle PCV pipe thing at 4 years old. They're out there with their I program, and it's a pride thing. It's a pride thing to play for Trenton.
Right. I've talked to those kids, later on when they're coming off the ice, after a big win or something, and they'll say, I was one of those little kids out there, slapping hands with the guys coming off the ice. I was 4 or 5 years old. So hockey's a different animal in Trenton. It's a whole other thing compared to the other cities, even around the state. Maybe a couple other cities here and there, but I would say Trenton is a whole other thing when it comes to hockey, high school hockey.
I would agree with that. There's no doubt they've been strong for decades. And where are we at? I got William Barrett, we got goaltender Noah Mikos, and Owen McAllister. So 6 players. Owen was an honorable mention. Mm-hmm. 6 players off that team, pretty solid. And Allen Park didn't do too bad. They had 2 D2 state selections, Bobby Lees and defenseman Bryson Bellina. Mm-hmm. Follow any of them?
Allen Park really, they had a real rough start, but then they came on really strong late in the year. They ended up beating Trenton, actually.
Wow.
I believe that game was back in January or February, but I think they went into, I don't remember where that game was, if that was their place or in Allen Park, but yeah, that was a big win for that Allen Park program. Especially they had come out of the gate, kind of slow, but then to pick up, beat Trenton. I think they gave Gabriel Richard a game a good battle down the line. So for to be able to do that, is something. Especially, I mean, you know what it's like to start out slow, to get into a rut, and how hard that is to bounce back from something like that. So I think that's the biggest accomplishment there with that Allen Park team.
Yeah, and you know what they schedule. The Trenton schedules all the tough schools. The Cranbrooks and all that as they're early get their feet wet. So then when they do get to D2 in the playoffs, they're pretty solid. And I hope Allen Park continues. Because for a while there, that program was maybe a less than 500 program.
Yeah, they've had their ups and downs
throughout the year. Gibraltar Carlson, say that 3 times real fast, had 3 in the D2. They were all honorable mentions. Senior forward Jack Forsinski, Aiden Brake, and senior goaltender Isaac Kalasa. Carlson was pretty solid too there for a little while.
Yep, Carlson had a pretty strong year. I know they finished with a winning record. I want to say they were like 15-12, maybe somewhere around there. Isaac Kalasa is a great goaltender, a great kid.
Oh yeah, stood on his head many games.
Yeah, I believe he started all 4 years, at least 3.
Nice.
But I believe he was the 4-year starter there at goaltender for them.
And you got to have passion. The kid obviously loves playing goal. They find that out when they're little. They throw about every kid in 7, 8-year-old hockey. Any kid that wants to play goal, they'll throw him back there.
Yeah.
My kid went back there once. He wasn't the most coordinated kid, but he ended up being a forward and a fast skater and then a referee.
That's awesome.
He enjoyed all that. Roosevelt had a couple of all-state picks. First team honors went to William Heskett. That was the kid didn't he play all the time? They only had, 12 players?
Yeah, they only had about 10, 12 players on the
Nice.
roster.
Wow.
And then a lot of times they were shorthanded from there. I was at a couple games where they had like 6, 7 skaters. 6, 7 skaters, 1 goaltender. So when you're dealing with that,
on the ice a lot.
They still had a good year. They finished with a winning record too. So
Gavin Daum was the other one, the defenseman. He got an honorable mention.
Heskett had 47 goals and 17 assists. He finished
Nice.
up with. So
Nice. Yeah, and we had discussed this before. Maybe not us, but me and Ken, or the 3 of us together, that you get on the ice a lot, you have more opportunity.
Yeah.
You have more opportunity to score goals. So good for him. He's a senior. I wonder if he's going to continue to play somewhere. I haven't seen a letter, signing from too many of those. A lot of schools haven't publicized the letter signings as they used to.
I have not heard yet on him.
No, it used to be a big deal. And in D3, we had 9 local players, a lot of that because of Gabriel Richard. Solid 5 kids from Gabriel Richard. You had Jimmy Monks, junior goaltender Ryan Rainey, forwards Aiden Gonzalez, Brody Kilpatrick, and a defenseman, Nick DeSanto. And I have to figure they were the core, probably, of that whole team.
Yeah, Coach Ricky DeSena multiple times said that this was the best team he ever had, and he's been around a long time coaching hockey.
Yeah.
So I mean, they had a great team. Jimmy Monks was a finalist for the Mr. Hockey Award for this year. Big Nick DeSanto was a beast. I mean, he was a defenseman. He was a big guy. He's about 300 pounds.
No way.
He didn't move like a 300-pounder.
Wow.
He's going, I don't remember where. He signed for football. He's going
did
to be a lineman in college.
So they had to get around him, and then their goalie, he's coming back for another year. So they had to get around the big defenseman, and then they had to get by the goalie.
He's just as good. Ryan Rainey, one of the better goalies in the state.
Nice. So we wish them luck. And then who would we have here? Grosville. They had 3 players also. And didn't they get eliminated towards the end?
Gabriel Richard beat them, in the regional final.
Yeah, so they had a junior defenseman, Fisher Gurney, his first team, and Travis Simmons, and Tate Hubler. They were honorable mentions. So their team was pretty solid too, huh?
Yeah, they had a good year. I believe they were like 21-4, something like that. Yeah, they only lost a few games. Just, they ran into Gabriel Richard. That was a whole different whole different thing there. So
Well, it was
but
like
they gave him a game.
the Riverview, who'd they run into at the end, and they took care of them. Some other strong team that they had. I think I read they tied, or earlier. I don't know. I've been out a long time.
I think that was Richard too. I think
it?
beat them in a mercy. Yeah, they had a little bit of a rocky year there, but they were young. They've got some guys coming back. So.
And the only couple left, the Cabrini Riverview combined team, Jace Johnson, second team honors, and at D1 we had Huron Harry Dombrowski and Woodhaven Ethan Gilovich.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the last two with the state hockey. Let's see. Baseball is going to kick off. We've had some play. I understand you talked to the coach on your ride here, maybe?
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to Brian Kottner, a little bit, the veteran Wyandotte Roosevelt coach. Been around quite a few years now over there. They went down to Kentucky for spring break. They went 0-3, but from talking to Brian, he said they came back a better team. He said they learned a lot, and they took their lumps down there, but they came back here an improved team from what they were.
And I think every spring break he goes down there, and at least the last few that I can recall, he's gone down there and played in that tournament. And they obviously play some tough teams because I think their success over the years. But you know what? You got to play the good teams. He's got 16 players. You know, currently he's got like 5 pitchers, and one of them's hitting 300, and another one's hitting 500. So they're hitting too. They're obviously multi-sport, multi-position players. They're not going to pitch every day, but 16 kids, that's not a large bench because 9 of them are out there at one time, and possibly 10 in the lineup. That only leaves you a couple extras if somebody gets hurt. And if maybe somebody couldn't make that trip, we don't know.
Right.
But that's good for them. It gives them a solid base, and hopefully he's got a good mix of some younger kids and some older kids. Yeah, we don't know, but I guess it's Key and Rose right now hitting 500 throughout the early start of the year. But if he's 5 for 10, that's it's a little different than 40 for 80.
Yeah, they took their lumps last year, but I think they're going to be much improved this year. I think Wyandotte's going to do a lot better in that Down River League this year. The Down River League's going to be tough, as it always is.
Yeah.
I think some of the better baseball in the state has been played down here the last few years, but I think Wyandotte will have a good chance to get into the mix.
And we always talk Woodhaven, but they're always solid. I thought I had the game schedules coming here for baseball, but I know they were played yesterday, and that game lasted 2 innings, and then today is Tuesday, and they're going to be trying to get a game in today. Depends on the fields, because it poured like crazy last night. Everybody needs a field like Woodhaven's, where it's going to drain.
Yeah.
I know plenty of times coaching girls softball. You didn't hear me say this, but coaching the little kids, the girls rec league, we'd practice on the football field because everything was soaked, and we might have to jump a fence. We just might have to have jumped a fence.
You do what you got to do.
But just to hit them some grounders and set up 3 bags, 60 feet apart, and just hit them some grounders and let them get some throws in, and take some swings because it's so wet you can't play anywhere else. And that's a lot of times the springs around here can be bad. So that's what we would do. We'd find a way to practice. And obviously they've got the indoor stuff going on at the high schools, so that's not an issue. They started practicing January. Some of my bowlers, had to go to practice after the meets and stuff like that and I have a freshman, Izzy Eisenegger, or Ellie, not Izzy. They probably call her Izzy. Ellie's going to be starting as a 9th grader, pitching for the varsity. So that's a good thing. Hopefully they've got a few arms because they have a tendency, that softball team, to burn out kids.
There are a lot of good young players that coming up in the Down River League. She's going to be one of them.
Oh yeah, one of many. She goes to camps. She's pitching all winter long. Her mom wanted her to bowl, and her dad, just to strengthen her arm. And she's a fireballer and bowler.
Okay.
Bowling, man. That ball's hitting the lane. And so my biggest goal was to slow her down.
Okay.
Get her into rolling the bowling ball. But now we're going to let her do the two-handed. Like all the boys, the boys game. How
Okay.
She's strong enough and she throws it hard enough that's what we're going to teach her from here on out.
Okay.
Because she can rip through it. It'll be I told her at the banquet, it's going to be fun to watch her develop into the two-handed style. She was experimenting with it a little bit, but didn't want to bring it to the meets. Too inaccurate.
Okay.
And when she could just guide, I let her be her to an extent, just slowed her down maybe 5 miles an hour.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to see. It's good to see that there's young kids coming up like that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. Where to next? Let's see. What do we got? We got all league. Basketball just ended. Let's do some all league stuff. We'll start with the girls. Trenton won the league. Strong, 15-1. And they had the way that works with the all league. Pretty simple concept. First place team gets 3 all league picks and an honorable mention. Second place gets 2 and an honorable mention, and everybody else gets 1 and an honorable mention. So it's a pretty easy concept to figure out. This is probably your article I ripped off.
Yeah, it is.
Not that we plagiarize it. We don't steal it. We
No,
plagiarize
it's fine.
Me and Ken have to get our information somewhere. This Ken and the previous Ken. Trenton, Mela Bynum, juniors Bri Thomas and Aaliyah Tangway. Cover any of those games?
Yeah, Bree Thomas is a great player. She's one of the best, probably one of the best I've ever seen on the court.
Really?
Mila Bynum is a great player. Aaliyah Tangway, you mentioned, she's a great player. She's going to be a star coming up now at softball too. This spring, yeah.
Yeah, that Allen Park's got that dual thing going too, don't they? They've got a couple of good softball players.
Yeah, they had a couple of good softball players that played basketball this year. I think that's coming up here.
Yeah. So Woodhaven gets 2. Kamari Dabbs, Beth Henniger, and Allen Park tied with them. They get 2. Emma Bateman and Lucy Granada. Both all downriver. I know the kids like to hear their names. Roosevelt with the 4th place finish. Paige Olson, 10-6. Not bad for the Bears.
Yeah, they had an improved season this year.
A couple of games were on the local cable. I do flick to channel 15, whether you guys know it or not. And I try to watch the shows. I try to watch if there's if the basketball's on, I'll stay on it for a little bit just to see. I was amazed how fast the girls' game has gotten because when I would watch it before, like my daughter's only 5 years removed from high school, but it wasn't as quick paced. Now it's really improved in 5 years. I feel.
Yeah, it has.
I could be wrong.
No, you're right. The pace has picked up a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of, for the most part, most teams in the area.
Good. Taylor had who'd they have? Alyssa Williamson from the Griffins. Gibraltar Junior Abigail Carafelli. So there's picks. I know the kids like to hear their names. Edsel Ford had Nawa El Gahami. And in Lincoln Park, it's funny, their boys were strong as could be, but the girls...
Yeah, the girls had a rocky year.
It's funny because, I'm sure they don't practice together. It was Treasure Ross, by the way, for the Lincoln Park team. And Titans rounded it out. Ella
Petrarca?
Yeah, there you go. Petrarca. The boys' team could be so strong, and then the girls' team isn't, and yet the kids all grow up together.
Right.
They all grow up in the same environment. It's interesting. I watch kids. There's Lincoln Park kids on the corner. I'm thinking they're Lincoln Park kids on the corner of Emmons and River Drive.
Okay.
There is a pool in this corner yard and a basketball court, and these kids are playing hoops out there nonstop.
That's great.
They're younger kids, but then there's always a few older ones sprinkled in there. And I don't know how old they are. I can't tell. But I go by that way all the time, every day. And there are kids shooting hoops there.
Okay.
And I don't know if they're on the boys' team. And there's girls there shooting hoops too. But that little corner of Emmons and River Drive, they got a hoop set up. And there's, at any given warm day, there'll be 10 kids out there playing hoops.
That's good to see.
Yeah.
You don't see that as much as you used to. The kids getting out and playing the pickup games, so it's good to see something like that.
And I saw it here driving here down 3rd Street at that grade school. I saw a little kid, couldn't have been 8 years old, standing on that court by himself practicing his dribbling.
Okay.
Through the legs, behind the back. Kid wasn't this tall, you know what I mean? I was pretty impressed about that. Boys side, Woodhaven, they are strong. They are the strong group, and they had a league champ. And with that, they get 3 coaches' picks, and Aaron Chapman, Fred Rogers, and Ethan Tchaikovsky. Obviously, you've seen them in their game plan.
Yeah, Woodhaven actually went 16-0. They did not lose a game this year in the Downriver League. They had a really good game plan. There really wasn't one real big star. Aaron Chapman, I guess maybe you could say. But they didn't really have that one guy that really ran the show. They really did a good job of moving the ball around and getting the ball in multiple people's hands and just dominating as the year went on.
So any given day, the hot hand they might continue to feed. They work the ball around. Kid's making shots, and he gets the green light.
Ethan Tchaikovsky, I saw, made some big shots this year. Had a couple of big threes. He had a big 3 against Lincoln Park when they won that game.
They played for the title at the end of the year. Was that how Lincoln Park's season 14-2? Is that the only team they lost to?
Yeah, both of their losses were to Woodhaven, but
Kinda
those were regularly scheduled regular season games.
That's how my bowling season went.
Yeah.
The only team we didn't beat was Taylor.
Okay.
All year long. Lost 3 times to him. First week, first time, second time, a position round. Is what it is. One team we couldn't beat. Hopefully they're graduating a couple seniors second week in their team.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. So Lincoln Park had a couple. Lucy Carpenter, Sadiq Hack. How do you say that?
Sadiq Hack.
Sadiq Hack. Yeah, they were there too. Lincoln Park, 14-2. Carlson, 3rd. Now the league kind of. Well, what I want to say before we go there, I know Woodhaven played some strong non-league games.
Yeah, they did.
Took Rouge on a couple of times, I think, once or twice.
They played E-Course once. They played Brother Rice once.
Okay.
They played, I think they played Summit. I don't remember. They got roughed up in those games, but I think it was good for them to.
It's the
good
baseball
experience.
team going down south. You know, it's good to go against the good teams. Where are we at? Carlson, J. Johnson, 500 team. Allen Park, Taylor, 500 teams. So we had Allen Park's Colin Thompson, Taylor's Ethan Norman. They both, fill the role. They say both seniors, so they're moving on. And then you move down the list. You got Edsel Ford, Nolan Birchenoff.
Yeah.
I should proofread these. Then Bears. Bears were 5-11. Their junior, Jonah Sadler, their best player, obviously, in the coach's eyes. Trenton, Ashton Rooney, and then Southgate rounding off the Chase Barbosa. Interesting, Southgate was at the bottom of the pile in both boys and girls.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Both schools have good coaches. Both have good people at the helm. Eugene Kobush over there at Southgate, he's done a good job. I think he's been there about 5 years now. So he's obviously with down year this year, but he's done a good job with maintaining that program. And then the girls, you had a first-year coach with Lakin Yachik. She was an athlete there a few years ago at Anderson. She graduated, I believe, in 2014, 2015. Okay. In fact, she was the one who was the kicker in football.
Oh, yeah?
At the time.
Yeah, I'm out of the loop.
Okay.
Interesting. She played soccer, maybe, so she was a good.
She was a very good soccer player. I think she's the record holder, if I remember right, for goals scored, for career goals. And she only played 3 years. I believe she didn't play her senior year because she was going to play basketball. But in college, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but I think that was the reason why she didn't play her senior year.
Obviously, she was 4 years removed before she came back here. So
I know she had a pretty good college career.
Good.
And came back here to coach.
That's what actually Taylor is moving. Their team is transitioning in bowling to a young lady that bowled for the team.
Okay.
A few years back.
Okay.
And so Dan was there to help. Dan keep his nose out of the mix. Yeah. But I'd always tease him. He'd come up. I want to say something. I said, "I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to her." But it's a good transition. It's a smooth transition. She couldn't make Mondays because of work. I mean, some of us work, and so he would be there on all the Monday meets.
Yeah, Dan's a great guy. Dan's going to be missed.
Trust me, those guys, when I first got in the mix, steered me around tremendously. I mean, I didn't, even though I tagged along for 4 years when Julia bowled, it was when you're in charge and you have to start attending meetings and doing stuff like that as a coach. Mm-hmm. Before it was just show up and teach them how to bowl. Now there's other things on the side we have to do.
Yeah.
So that's good. We covered all the Down River League kids. There was bowling. Hey, Allen Park got a new AD. That's big news. Mm-hmm. That's big news because we have to cover this quickly because timer's running out of time. James Victor. Known him for a while?
I have. He's been the varsity basketball coach for, I know, more than 10 years at Allen Park. Really good guy. Great guy. I know he goes out of his way for the kids. He's developed a strong program there in basketball. Like I said, he's a strong leader. I think Allen Park made a great move in hiring him.
Good. For
that position.
And what I understand, they finally changed the system. He doesn't have to be an assistant principal.
Right.
Because, all the coaches I've dealt with were assistant principals over there. The couple of them that were athletic directors were assistant principals. Now he's got to cover some of the club teams, but he doesn't have to be a principal. That's a good thing. Don't forget to get a hold of us at Local Sports Wrap Up. I'm Marty. That's Ken. Frank. That's Frank. Ken's not here. Ken will be here next week, though, promise. He wants to get the 3-man roundtable going. We'll see about that. I'm working right now. Snuck out. Today's April 4th. Don't forget, watch us on YouTube and get a hold of us. Let us know your kids signed up somewhere. Let us know anything about your kids. We'll put it on there. Maybe pretty soon we'll put the rec league scores up there.
Yeah, maybe.
What the heck, in the summertime. So we'll see you next week. At least he will. We'll see where Jet Set Janeski's at next week. Maybe he can make it. Maybe I'll be somewhere warm. I did just get back from San Antonio. That was nice. Played golf 4 days in a row.
Sure it was.
See you next week, everyone. Thanks for watching.